Namaste and welcome to the second episode of Raghuvamsham. Today we will be taking up from shloka number 5 to shloka number 15. We have to take shloka number 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 together because the common verb for all these shlokas appears in the 9th shloka. This group of shlokas which have to be read together is known as a kulakam. Sohama janma shuddhanam aphalodaya karmanam asamudrakshiteshanam anakarathavartmanam yatha vidhihutagninam yatha kamarchitarthinam yatha paradadandanam yatha kalaprabodhinam त्यागाय संभृतार्थानां सत्याय मितभाषिणां यशसे विजिगीषूणां प्रजायै गृहमेधिनां शैशवेभ्यस्तविद्यानां यौवने विषयैषिणां वार्धके मुनिवृत्तीनां योगेनान्ते तनुत्यजां रघूणामन्वयं वक्ष्ये तनुवाग्विभवोऽपि सन् तद्गुणैः कर्णमागत्य चापलाय प्रचोदितः. Before going into the shlokas, I have a question for you. Do you know about the other great works of our great poet Kalidasa? If you know, please do comment below. I will be telling about them at the end of this video. Please do subscribe to the Sanskrit Garden to get more information and to take a peek into the Sanskrit literature. We shall start with the 9th shloka. Kalidasa says, Tanu vak vibhavaha api san. That is, though my diction is meager, aham raghunam anvayam vakshe. I will tell about the lineage of Raghu. Because tat gunaihi karnamagatya chapalaya prachoditaha. Because those qualities, those excellent virtues came to my ears and they inspired me. Mallinatha, who wrote the commentary for Raghuvamsham in his book Sanjeevani, defines chapala karma like this: avimrishya karana rupam, which means doing something without thinking. It could mean being impulsive, or it could mean writing in a flow without analyzing too much about its correctness. I feel the latter suits better for Kalidasa. Kalidasa says he is inspired by the qualities of the people of this Raghuvamsham. What are those qualities? Those are mentioned in shlokas 5, 6, 7 and 8. Let us look at them. First he says, Ajanma Shuddhanam. So everything is in Shashti Vibhakti because Kalidasa is saying of the Raghus who are having these qualities. Of these Raghus I am going to write about them. So that is Ajanma Shuddhaha, means those who are pure right from the time they are born. Aphalodaya Karmanam, those who are persistent until they attain the fruits of their work. Asamudra Kshitishanam, those whose ruling extended until the sea. Anaka Rathavartmanam, Naka is heaven. So those whose chariots went until the heaven. Those days, these great kings, they would go to the heaven to assist Devendra during his war with the Asuras. So that is why this is being mentioned. In the 6th shloka, Kalidasa says, Yatha vidhi hutagnina. That is, Yatha vidhi hutagnayaha means those who performed the fire sacrifices as instructed in the scriptures. Then, Yatha kamarchitarthinam, those who satisfied their supplicants, people who came asking for something, they satisfied them. Yatha aparadha dandana, and these Raghus, they punished according to the crime. Yatha kala prabodhina, meaning they were very vigilant. Whenever it is time for them to act, they were ready to act at that time. It could also mean they got up on time. Some interpret it as they got up in Brahmi Muhurtam. So it can mean both ways. In the 7th shloka, Kalidasa says, Tyagaya Samhritarthanam. That means they accumulated wealth for the sake of donating. Here, the word Tyaga should not be taken as sacrifice. If they want to give up the wealth, then why would they accumulate it in the first place? So, Mallinatha clearly says Tyaga here means donating it to the right person. That is Tyaga. And they did not accumulate wealth to pass it on to the next generation. They accumulated wealth in order to donate it to people who are in need of it. Satyaya mitabhashina. In order to speak truth, they spoke very little. Because when we speak too much, sometimes unknowingly some exaggerations happen and we will not be speaking the truth. We will be speaking something out of imagination. So in order to avoid that, they spoke very little. Yashase Vijigishunam. They won in order to attain glory, not in order to trouble others. They did not go and fight wars to trouble others, but in order to maintain the glory of the Raghu dynasty, they won. And Prajayai Grihamedinam. They married in order to attain progeny. In the 8th shloka of Raghuvamsham, Kalidasa describes the life cycle of the kings of the Raghu dynasty. He says, Shaishave Abhyasta Vidyanam. During their childhood, they studied, they spent their time fully in education. Yauvane Vishayaishinam. In their youth, they enjoyed material pleasures. Vardhakye Munivrittinam. During their old age, they lived like sages. Yoge Nante Tanutyajam. And they left their bodies through yogic practices. Do you see how the poet is influencing us to be like the people of the Raghu dynasty by describing their qualities? That is the power of kavyas. Tam santashrotumarhanti sadasadvyaktihetavaha hemnas samlakshyate hyagnau vishuddhishyami kapiva. Wise people who have the wisdom to distinguish between the truth and the untruth are entitled to listen to this lineage of Raghu. After all, the purity and impurity of gold can be tested only in fire. In the 10th verse, Kalidasa says, wise people are eligible to listen to this Raghuvamsham. And he says, wise people are those who can distinguish good from the bad. For this, he gives a comparison. He says, the purity of gold can be tested only in fire. Similarly, the quality of a literary work can be tested only when wise people listen to it. There are 3 categories of kavyas. Avara kavyam is an inferior kavyam where the poet just plays around with words, intellectual playing with the words, and there is nothing much there. The second is Madhyama Kavyam, where there are alankaras, poetic ornamentation, and it's beautiful. But Uttama Kavyam is where the rasa is generated. That is, when readers read that Kavyam, it generates aesthetic pleasure and some emotions in the minds of the readers. So finally, it is the readers, wise readers, who decide the quality of a literary work. Vaivasvato manurnama mananiyo manishinam asin mahikshitamadhyaf pranavaschandasamiva. The king Vaivasvata Manu, who was respected by the wise people, was the first among all kings, just like how the sound Om is the first among the Vedas. Vaivaswataha means the son of Vivaswat. Vivaswataha apatyam puman Vaivaswataha. Vivaswat is the sun in the sky. Vaivaswata is the sun's son. So here Manu, who was the sun's son, is being referred to. Actually there are 14 Manus, but the Manu that is referred here is the 7th Manu. This Manu is considered as the progenitor of all the present living beings. He is said to have a daughter called Ila, who married Buddha, the son of Moon, and thus uniting the solar and the lunar dynasties. This Manu was also saved during the great flood by Lord Vishnu, who took the Matsyavataram. He is considered to be the first king, and he was very respected by the wise and knowledgeable people. And for this, Kalidasa gives a comparison. He says like how Omkara is the first sound of Vedas, like that Manu was the first among the kings. In this verse, the word Chandas refers to Vedas. And this Omkara, it is said that every Vedic chant must begin and end with Omkara. Otherwise, it is said that the learning slips away. Highest spiritual efficacy is attributed to Omkara. The Mandukya Upanishad and Chandogya Upanishad speak very much in detail about this Om. Tadanvaye Shuddhimati Prasuta Shuddhimattaraha Dilipa iti Rajendurindu Kshira Nidhaviva. In that pure lineage was born an even purer Dilipa, who was like a moon among kings, just like the moon born out of the ocean of milk. During the churning of the ocean, many things came out, like the Kalpavriksha, Kamadhenu, Kaustubhamani, moon, etc. Of these, why did the poet choose to compare Dilipa with the moon? That is because of all the things, moon is the one which shines brightly. Similarly, King Dilipa shines brightly. If all other kings are considered to be stars, then King Dilipa shone brighter than them like the moon. Another special quality of the moon is that along with its brightness, it is also very pleasing. And so was King Dilip. Also, the Kshira Sagaram, milky ocean, is considered to be very pure. From it arose a purer moon. Similarly, this Raghuvamsham is very pure, and from it arose an even purer Dilip. Vyudhoraskaha Vrishaskandhaha Shalapramshurmahabhujaha Atmakarma Kshamam Deham Kshatro Dharma Ivashritaha. In this verse, the poet is describing the physical features of King Dilip. Broad chest, strong shoulders like that of a bull, as tall as a sal tree, great arms, a body capable of doing all the duties by itself. It looked like the personification of Kshatriya Dharma. Akara sadrisha prajnaha prajnaya sadrishagamaha agamai sadrisharambhaha arambha sadrishodayaha. His intelligence was as good as his looks, his knowledge as good as his intelligence, his work as good as his knowledge, and his results as good as his work. So, in short, this shloka says King Dilipa was handsome, intelligent, knowledgeable, action taker, and achiever. Sarvatiriktasarena sarvatejobhibhavina sthitas sarvonnate norvim krantva merurivatmana. He surpassed all beings by his strength. By his splendor, he defeated all creatures. He surpassed the whole earth and stood tall like a Meru mountain. Here, this strength cannot be just taken as the physical strength or the strength of his army. It could also be his mental strength and the Atma Balam. Also, he surpassed all living beings just by his brilliance. The brilliance could partly be because he is from the Surya Vamsha, and it could also be because of the way he handled his kingdom, his divine qualities and his divine soul. The poet further says, King Dilipa surpassed all living beings and stood tall like the Meru mountain. Now, the Meru is considered to be very tall, stable, divine and radiant. So was King Dilipa. According to the geography of the Puranas, the Meru is situated at the center of the universe. All planets revolve around Meru. It is shaped like the seed vessel of lotus, and all land spreads around it like the petals of lotus. It is said to be made of gold and is 84,000 yojanas in height, of which 16,000 yojanas are below the surface of the earth. Its summit is the residence of Lord Brahma and is the meeting point of all rishis, gods, Gandharvas and other divine beings. Now that we have come to the end of this video, as promised before, I will tell about the other works of the great poet Kalidasa. He has written two Mahakavyams. One is Raghuvamsham, which we are doing now. The other is Kumara Sambhavam, which is about the birth of Lord Kartikeya. He has written two small kavyams, Ritu Samhara, which is about which describes the 6 seasons, and Meghdhotam, which is about a Yaksha who sends message to his lover through a cloud. We have 3 dramas of Kalidasa available now. Abhignana Shakuntalam, a masterpiece which everyone knows, is about the story of King Dushyanta and Shakuntala. Malavikagnimitram, which is a story of love between King Agnimitra and Malavika. Vikramorvashiyam, which is a story of love between King Pururavas and an Apsara, Urvashi. Though these are love stories, they are written to influence the society in a good way. As mentioned before, Kavyas are Kanta Samhitas. Our ancient poets has a purpose, a vision before writing these Kavyas. In the Sanskrit garden, you will find more content from the Sanskrit literature, be it shlokas, subhashitas, kavyas, stories, spoken Sanskrit and more. So please do subscribe to the Sanskrit Garden and hit the bell icon to savor more content from Sanskrit literature. You can also follow the Sanskrit Garden on Instagram, where I have posted the shlokas of Raghuvamsham with the meaning, with the Padavibhagaha and Anvayakramaha. Aham atra viramami, agrima video madhye punar milami. Ram Ram.